The stars stretched across the darkness like scattered diamonds. Among them, hidden behind a pale moon, 300 warships waited in silence. These ships belonged to the Empire, the greatest conquering force in the known galaxy. They had taken 17 star systems. They had crushed hundreds of civilizations, and today they would add one more world to their collection. Fleet Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. He was tall for his species, with gray skin that looked like wet stone and 4 eyes that glowed soft yellow in the dim light. His uniform was decorated with medals from dozens of conquered worlds. He had never lost a battle. He did not plan to start now. "Report," he said, his voice deep and calm. His science officer, a nervous young name, checked his screens. "Sir, we have completed our scan of the third planet. It matches all criteria for harvest. Oxygen atmosphere, liquid water, carbon-based life forms, primitive civilization with no interstellar travel capability." Smiled, showing rows of small sharp teeth. "Population? Approximately 8 billion, sir." 8 billion workers for our mines, said with satisfaction. "What is their military status?" Hesitated. "They appear to have basic projectile weapons, chemical explosives, some nuclear capability but only planetary range, nothing that can threaten our shields." Admiral, an older with scars across his face, stepped forward. "Another easy victory, Commander. I suggest we begin immediately. Standard protocol. Destroy their communication systems, eliminate their leaders, and begin collection." Nodded slowly. He looked at the blue and green planet on his. It was beautiful, he admitted. Most conquered worlds were. Beauty meant resources. Resources meant value. "Send the reconnaissance team first," ordered. "I want specimen samples and ground intelligence before we begin the main assault. We take this world by their sunrise." Far below, on the surface of that blue planet, life continued as normal. The planet was called Earth by its inhabitants, and in one small country called Korea, a young man named was finishing his last week of mandatory military service. Was 23 years old with short black hair and tired eyes. He sat in his barracks, cleaning his rifle for the 100th time. 2 years of service had taught him discipline, patience, and how to sleep anywhere. He was ready to go home. His phone buzzed, a message from his sister. "Dinner on Saturday. Mom is making your favorite." He smiled and typed back, "I'll be there. Don't eat all the meat before I arrive." Was 26, working as a translator for the government. She was smart, funny, and always teased him about being the baby of the family. He missed her. He missed home. Just 5 more days. Outside the barracks, Sergeant was running night drills with his squad. Was 31, built like a tank, with a voice that could shake walls. He had served for 10 years and planned to serve 10 more. The military was his life. "Faster," he shouted at his men. "You think the enemy will wait for you to catch your breath." The soldiers ran harder. None of them knew that enemies were already watching from above. In a small farmhouse in province, far from any city, an old man sat alone watching television. His name was, and he was 78 years old. His wife had passed 3 years ago. His children lived in Seoul. But his grandson was visiting for the week, sleeping upstairs after a long drive from college. Watched a drama about young people falling in love. He did not understand it, but the noise kept him company. On the wall behind him hung old photographs and military medals. He had fought in the Korean War when he was just 18. He had seen things that still visited him in dreams. A baseball bat leaned against the wall near the door. It belonged to who played in a weekend league, kept it close. Old habits never died. In Seoul, at a naval base, Captain reviewed patrol schedules. She was 42, with sharp eyes and a reputation for being the officer in her division. She noticed something strange on the satellite feed, a shadow near the moon that should not be there. She frowned and made a note to check it again in the morning. In the sky above, the reconnaissance shuttle descended through the clouds. 5 soldiers sat inside, led by scout leader. They had done this 100 times on 100 worlds. Land quietly, capture specimens, test resistance, report back. Looked at his team. Standard mission, find isolated targets, no witnesses, we return before their sun rises. His soldiers nodded. They carried weapons that could cut through steel. They wore armor that could stop any primitive projectile. They were the best scouts in the fleet. The shuttle landed in a dark field surrounded by mountains and forests. The air was cold and smelled of pine trees. Checked his scanner. One life form in a structure nearby. Elderly. Alone. Perfect, he said. One specimen to start, move out. They walked toward the farmhouse, their boots silent on the frozen ground. Inside, heard nothing. He continued watching his drama, unaware that his quiet night was about to become the most important moment in human history. Above the clouds, Commander watched the scanner blips move toward the target. Everything was going according to plan. By tomorrow, this planet would belong to the Empire. He had never been more wrong about anything in his life. The farmhouse door was old and wooden. Studied it with his 4 eyes, almost laughing at how simple it was. On other worlds, even primitive species had metal doors, security systems, guards. This planet had none of that, just wood and a simple lock. He signaled to his team. 2 soldiers moved to the back of the house. 2 stayed with him at the front, standard formation, surround and capture. Pressed a button on his wrist device. A small pulse of energy hit the lock. It clicked open. He pushed the door slowly, stepping inside with his weapon raised. The interior was warm and smelled of food. Strange sounds came from a glowing box in the corner. Moving pictures. Entertainment device noted, primitive but clever. And there, sitting in a chair with his back to the door, was the target. An elderly male, thin and gray-haired. Easy capture. Would be back on the shuttle in 5 minutes. Secure the specimen, he whispered to his soldiers. They moved forward. One of them stepped on a loose board. It creaked loudly. Turned around. For a moment nobody moved, stared at the creatures in his home. They were tall, gray-skinned, with 4 glowing eyes each. They wore dark armor and carried weapons that hummed with strange light. They were not human. They were not from this world. Any normal person might have screamed. Any normal person might have frozen in fear, but was not a normal person. He was a survivor of the Korean War. He had watched friends die beside him. He had killed enemies with his bare hands when his rifle jammed. He had walked through fire and come out the other side. He had seen monsters before. These were just new ones. His hand moved without thinking. 78 years old, but his muscles remembered. He grabbed the baseball bat near the door and swung. The first alien never saw it coming. The bat connected with the side of its head with a crack that echoed through the small room. The creature dropped instantly, its weapon clattering to the floor. Shouted a command but was already moving. He was old, yes. His bones ached every morning, but he had trained his whole life to fight. And in this moment, all that training came flooding back. The second alien raised its weapon, ducked under the shot. A beam of light burned a hole in his wall. He did not care. He swung the bat low, hitting the alien's knee. It screamed and fell. "What is happening?" shouted into his communicator. "The specimen is fighting back." Did not understand the alien language, but he understood the fear in the voice. Good. They should be afraid. The third alien came at him from behind. Spun, using the fallen alien as a shield. The attacking alien hesitated, not wanting to hit its own soldier. That hesitation cost it everything. Threw the bat like a spear. It hit the alien directly in the face. The creature stumbled backward and crashed through the window. 3 down, 2 left. Stared in disbelief. This was impossible. This was a primitive world. These creatures were supposed to be weak and afraid, but this old male moved like a warrior. His eyes showed no fear at all, only cold, controlled anger. "You think you're the first to try this," shouted in Korean. "You think I haven't fought before? I survived the war, I survived everything, you're nothing." Did not understand the words, but he understood the meaning. This was not prey, this was a predator. "Retreat," he ordered his remaining soldier. "Back to the shuttle now." They ran, grabbed one unconscious soldier and dragged him toward the door. The other soldier grabbed another. They left the third behind, crashed through the broken window, unconscious. Let them go. His heart was pounding. His hands were shaking now. But he stood tall in his destroyed living room, watching the aliens flee into the darkness. Upstairs, woke to the sounds of chaos. He ran downstairs and found his grandfather standing among fallen aliens and broken furniture. "Grandpa," he shouted, "what happened? What are those things?" Looked at his grandson. Then he looked at the unconscious alien on his floor. Then he picked up his phone and dialed emergency services. "This is from Province," he said calmly. "I need police and military at my home. I have captured an alien." The operator thought it was a joke, but when the first responders arrived 20 minutes later, they found exactly what described. A real alien, alive, tied to a kitchen chair with rope. Offered them tea. In orbit, reported to Commander. His voice was shaking. His wounds were bleeding. His pride was destroyed. "The elderly specimen was hostile, sir, extremely hostile. We lost one soldier captured, 2 injured. The mission has failed." Listened in silence. His 4 eyes narrowed with anger and confusion. "You are telling me," he said slowly, "that 5 of my best scouts were defeated by one old creature with a wooden stick?" "Yes, sir." "How is that possible?" Swallowed hard. "Sir, I do not know, but I recommend we reconsider our assessment of this planet. These creatures may be more dangerous than we thought." Ended the communication. He stood alone on his bridge, staring at the blue planet below. For the first time in 40 years, he felt a small seed of doubt growing in his chest. He crushed it immediately. One lucky elder did not make a planet dangerous. Tomorrow, he would send a real force. Then these primitives would learn their place. He was still wrong, but he would not understand that until it was too late. The sun rose over Korea, but nobody was sleeping. The news of the captured alien spread faster than fire. Within hours, the entire world knew. Governments held emergency meetings. Scientists rushed to Province. Military bases went to highest alert. And Grandpa became the most famous man on Earth. He did not want the attention. When reporters came to his farm, he closed the door in their faces. When generals called him a hero, he said he was just an old man who did not like uninvited guests. When his grandson asked how he stayed so calm, just shrugged. "When you have seen war," he said, "everything else is just noise." In Seoul, watched the news with wide eyes. Her brother called her from his base. "Are you seeing this?" he asked. "Aliens are real. They actually tried to invade us." "I know," replied. "My office is going crazy. They're calling in every translator. They want to communicate with the captured one." "Be careful," said. "We don't know what these things can do." "You be careful too. They might send more." Laughed nervously. "Let them come. If an old grandpa can beat them with a baseball bat, imagine what the actual military can do." He meant it as a joke, but very soon they would all find out. Commander refused to accept failure. He stood before his admirals with cold fury in his eyes. "This ends today," he declared. "I want 50 soldiers on the ground, full combat armor, heavy weapons. I want them to target a larger population center and demonstrate our power. No more mistakes." Admiral nodded. "Where should we strike, sir?" Studied the planet map. He pointed to a coastal city with millions of inhabitants. "Here, this place called, we land in the center, destroy their military response, and capture 1,000 specimens. The rest of the planet will see and surrender." The strike force launched within the hour. 50 of the Empire's finest warriors descended toward Earth in 10 assault shuttles. They carried plasma rifles, energy shields, and enough firepower to level a small city. They expected easy victory. They found something else entirely. Captain of the Korean Navy saw them first. She was on her patrol ship when her radar showed 10 objects entering the atmosphere at impossible speed. "Contact confirmed," she said into her radio, her voice steady despite her racing heart. 10 unknown craft approaching. All units prepare for engagement. This is not a drill. Within minutes, the entire Korean military machine activated. Fighter jets launched from bases across the country. Ground troops deployed to defensive positions. Naval ships aimed their weapons at the sky. And at the center of it all, Sergeant led his squad through the streets heading straight toward the landing zone. The shuttles touched down in a large public square. People ran screaming in all directions. The alien soldiers emerged from their ships, weapons raised, ready for conquest. Their commander, a veteran named, stepped forward and activated his translator. "Creatures of this world," his voice boomed through speakers, "you are now property of the Empire. Surrender immediately or face destruction." For a moment, everything was silent. Then the missiles hit. The first explosion caught the aliens completely off guard. Their shields held, but the force knocked several soldiers off their feet. More explosions followed as Korean artillery opened fire from all directions. "Return fire," screamed, "destroy them." The soldiers fired their plasma weapons. Buildings burned, cars exploded, but the humans did not stop coming. They ran toward the aliens, not away from them. They attacked from rooftops, from alleys, from windows. And his squad reached the square from the north. They had trained for this their whole lives, not specifically for aliens, but for any enemy that threatened their home. The training worked just the same. "Aim for the gaps in their armor," shouted. "Keep moving, don't let them get a clear shot." His soldiers spread out, using the destroyed cars and buildings as cover. They fired in coordinated bursts, forcing the aliens to defend from multiple angles at once. Lieutenant circled above in her helicopter, feeding information to ground troops. "Enemy group breaking left toward the harbor," she reported. "Another group falling back to their ships." "Don't let them reach the ships," Captain ordered from her naval vessel. "If they escape, they'll report our tactics." The battle lasted 3 hours, 3 hours of fire, blood, and thunder. The soldiers were stronger and better armed, but the humans were endless. For every soldier that fell, 3 more appeared. They came from everywhere: police officers, off-duty military, even regular citizens with hunting rifles and kitchen knives. Watched his forces crumble. He had conquered a dozen worlds. He had never seen anything like this. These creatures did not fight like prey. They fought like demons. "Sir," one of his soldiers screamed, "what do we do?" Made a choice he had never made before. "Retreat, everyone back to the shuttles, now." But it was too late. Sergeant's squad had already reached the landing zone. They disabled 2 shuttles with explosive charges. The remaining aliens were surrounded. By sunset, it was over. Every single soldier was either dead or captured. Not one escape. Not one successful report sent back to the fleet. In orbit, Commander waited for news that never came. "Contact them," he ordered. "Get me status report." Static silence. "Sir," said quietly, "I am detecting emergency signals from all shuttles. They are all on the ground. None of them are moving." Felt his blood run cold. "That is not possible," he whispered. But it was very, very possible, and it was only the beginning. 3 days had passed since the battle the world had changed forever. Every nation on Earth now knew they were not alone in the universe, and more importantly, they knew they could fight back. The captured aliens were taken to a secure military facility near Seoul. Scientists worked day and night to study their biology, their technology, and their language. Translators worked with special teams to communicate with the prisoners. The aliens were confused. On every world they had conquered, the natives surrendered after seeing power. They begged for mercy. They accepted slavery, but these humans did something strange. They brought the prisoners food, good food, hot soup and rice and vegetables. They treated their wounds with care and gentleness. Nurse was assigned to the medical wing where the alien prisoners were kept. She was 30 years old with a kind face and soft voice. She had no fear of the creatures. To her, they were just patients. "Does this hurt?" she asked one injured alien, pointing to the bandage on its arm. The alien stared at her with all four eyes. The translator device around its neck processed her words. "Why do you help us?" it asked. "We came to enslave you, to take your world. Why do you not kill us?" Smiled gently. "Because that is not who we are. We fight when we must, but we do not enjoy causing pain. You are prisoners, but you are still living beings. You deserve care." The alien looked at its companions. They whispered to each other in their own language, something that sounded almost like fear. "You are strange creatures," the alien finally said, "terrifying and strange." In orbit, Commander was finally beginning to understand. He had called an emergency council on the Eternal Dominion. His admirals and senior officers gathered in the war room, their faces showing confusion and worry. They had lost 50 soldiers, every single one, against primitives with projectile weapons. "I want answers," demanded. "How did this happen?" Admiral shook his head. "Their weapons should not have been able to penetrate our armor, but they adapted. They found the weak points. They worked together with perfect coordination." "They ran toward our soldiers," another admiral added. "Not away, toward. No species does that. When they see power, they flee. These humans charged directly at plasma fire." Turned to his communications officer. "You have been studying their broadcasts. Tell me everything." Stood nervously. He had spent 3 days gathering information. What he found kept him awake at night. "Sir, this species calls themselves humans. They have existed on their planet for approximately 300,000 years. In that time, they have never stopped fighting." "Fighting what?" asked. "Each other, sir. They fight each other constantly. They have had thousands of wars, millions of battles. They have developed weapons capable of destroying their entire planet many times over." The room went silent. "They can destroy their own world," repeated slowly. "Yes, sir. They call them nuclear weapons. They have enough to make their planet uninhabitable, and they created these weapons not to fight us but to fight each other." Sat down heavily. His mind struggled to understand. They had nuclear weapons too, but they only developed them after encountering other space civilizations. These humans developed them while still trapped on their own world, just to fight their own kind. "What else?" asked, his voice weaker now. Continued. "They have survived multiple extinction events. Their planet has experienced ice ages, asteroid impacts, eruptions, and plagues that killed millions. Each time, they survived and became stronger. They domesticated apex predators. Their most popular companion animal was once a wild wolf. They bred it over generations until it loved them. They consume poison for recreation. Alcohol, caffeine, capsaicin, all toxic substances. They enjoy them. They run distances of 40 kilometers without stopping. For fun, they call these events marathons. They regularly climb mountains that kill them, swim in freezing water, jump out of flying vehicles with only cloth to slow their fall." Admiral raised a hand. "Enough, this is impossible. No species is this insane." "There is more, sir," said quietly. "The region we attacked, the one called Korea, has been invaded many times throughout history, by many different human nations. Each time they fought back. Each time they survived. They have a culture built around resistance." On Earth, doctor at the Korean Advanced Institute of Science and Technology was examining the captured alien power source. He was a physicist, 52 years old, with wild gray hair and eyes that sparkled with excitement. "This is incredible," he muttered to his assistant. "Their energy efficiency is impressive, but the basic principles are the same as ours. Given their head start, I expected more." "Can we replicate it?" his assistant asked. Laughed. "Replicate it? Give me 6 months and I will improve it. These aliens may have been traveling the stars longer than us, but they stopped innovating. They got comfortable with victory." He looked at the power core with hungry eyes. "We will not make that mistake." Back in the military facility, finally established full communication with the alien prisoners. She sat across from the one called, the scout leader who had survived Grandpa's attack. "Why did you come here?" she asked. Looked at her with haunted eyes. He had not slept in days. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that old man's face, that terrible, fearless face. "We came because we thought you were weak," he admitted. "We conquer weak worlds. It is what we do. It is what we have always done." "And now?" Was silent for a long moment. "Now I think we made a terrible mistake. Your people do not fight like prey. You fight like something else, something we have never encountered before." "What is that?" asked. Met her eyes. "Apex predators," he whispered. "You fight like apex predators who have never known anything but survival, and I fear my people have made the greatest error in our empire's history." Commander had not slept in 4 days. He stood alone on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, staring at the blue planet that had destroyed everything he believed about conquest. 300 warships waited behind him, their crews nervous and confused. They had never failed before. They did not know what failure felt like. Now they were learning. "Sir," approached carefully, "we are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface." Turned slowly. "What kind of transmission?" "Video communication, sir. They are requesting to speak with our leader. They say they want to negotiate." The word hit like a physical blow. Negotiate. No conquered world had ever asked to negotiate. They begged, they surrendered, they submitted, but these humans wanted to talk as equals. He should have destroyed them from orbit. He should have burned their cities from space where they could not fight back, but he had wanted to see them kneel. He had wanted to witness their submission personally. Pride, it had been pride, and now pride might cost him everything. "Show me," he ordered. The activated, a young human female appeared. She had dark hair and calm eyes. Behind her could see military officers, scientists, and government officials. They did not look afraid. They looked determined. "My name is," the female said in perfect language. She had learned it in 4 days. "I speak for the United Nations of Earth. We request a peaceful resolution to this conflict." Straightened himself. He still had 300 ships. He could still win. "You are in no position to make requests," he said coldly. "Surrender now and we may show mercy." Smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew something he did not. "Commander, in the past 4 days, we have studied your soldiers, your weapons, and your technology. We have learned much about you. Have you learned anything about us?" Said nothing. "Let me tell you what will happen if you attack again," continued. "You will destroy cities. You will kill millions of us, but you will not win. Because for every one of us you kill, 10 more will rise to fight. We have fought against impossible odds for our entire history. We have never stopped. We never will. Your species has conquered 17 star systems. Ours has conquered something harder. We have conquered our own planet. We have survived ourselves. Do you understand what that means?" Began to understand, and the understanding filled him with cold terror. On Earth, finally completed his military service, but instead of going home, he volunteered for the new planetary defense force. So did thousands of others. Young men and women lined up at recruitment centers across the world, ready to fight enemies from beyond the stars. Sergeant was promoted to lieutenant for his actions in. He did not celebrate. He was too busy training new soldiers. Captain took command of a new naval division, specifically designed for anti-alien operations. They were already testing weapons based on captured technology. Doctor published his findings on the alien power source. Within a week, scientists around the world were working on improvements. The human race was advancing faster than ever before. And in a small farmhouse in Provence, Grandpa returned to his quiet life. The government offered him medals, money, and fame. He refused it all. "I did what anyone would do," he told them. "I protected my home." His grandson visited every weekend now. They watched dramas together. They ate meals cooked by his grandmother, who traveled from Seoul to take care of her husband. "Aliens," muttered as she served dinner. "In my day, we worried about real problems. Now everyone is scared of gray creatures with 4 eyes." "You're not scared, Grandma?" asked. Laughed. "I survived the war. I survived the economic crisis. I survived raising 3 children and 1 very stubborn husband. What are aliens going to do that life has not already tried?" In orbit, Commander made his final decision. He gathered his admirals one last time. They looked at him with desperate hope. They wanted him to order the attack. They wanted him to restore their pride. They wanted victory. But had studied the humans now. He had watched their history, their wars, their survival, and he finally understood what he was facing. "All ships," he announced, his voice heavy with defeat, "prepare for emergency hyperspace jump. Set course for home." Admiral stepped forward in shock. "Sir, we cannot retreat. The Emperor will." "The Emperor will what?" interrupted. "Send another fleet, a larger one, and then what? These creatures will capture more of our soldiers, learn more of our technology. They are already adapting our weapons. In a year they will have ships of their own. In 10 years they will come looking for us." The bridge fell silent. "I am saving our empire," said quietly. "This world is not a prize to be taken. It is a trap, and we nearly walked into it." He turned to, "Mark this system as Class Omega forbidden. No vessel is to approach within 10 light years, ever, under any circumstances." "Yes, sir," said, then he hesitated. "Sir, what should I write in the official report?" Thought for a long moment. "Write the truth. Write that we found a world of insane predators who fear nothing, adapt to everything, and never stop fighting. Write that they consume poison for pleasure, run until their bodies break, and love creatures that should eat them. Write that their elders defeat armed soldiers with wooden sticks and their children dream of war among the stars." He paused, looking at Earth one last time. "Write that this planet is not to be conquered, it is to be avoided, forever." The fleet vanished into hyperspace. 300 ships fled from a world they could never defeat. On Earth, watched them go on the radar screen. She turned to the military officials beside her. "They're leaving," she said. General nodded slowly. "For now, they will tell others about us, other empires, other civilizations." "Are we ready for that?" Smiled grimly. "We have been ready our whole existence. We just did not know what we were ready for." That night and finally had dinner with their family. Their mother cried with relief. Their father poured drinks and toasted their survival. Grandmother served endless food and complained that everyone was too skinny. "Do you think they will come back?" asked her brother quietly. Thought about it, then he shrugged. "Let them," he said. "We'll be ready." Outside, the stars twinkled in the dark sky. Somewhere among them, alien civilizations were receiving reports about a small blue planet in an unremarkable solar system. A planet marked with the highest warning level possible. A planet called Earth. A planet that should never, ever be invaded. And in his farmhouse, Grandpa hung the captured alien weapon on the wall, right next to his old war medals. He looked at them both and smiled. Some things never changed. Enemies came, enemies threatened, enemies learned. And humans remained exactly what they had always been. Survivors,